Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the CDL podcast channel. In this episode today, Brock and I are going to be talking map switches, another roster change, and that's about it for news. Then we're going to jump into predictions as matches are finally back in a bit of a weird format. So if you guys enjoy this one, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you're on the audio platforms, drop a follow, drop a 5-star review. We appreciate all the support in the last video. You guys crushed it. It was the best pod numbers wise and quite some time, lots of interaction in the comments. And to be honest, this is where we'll start today, Brock, with your thoughts on this. But it was probably the least debate we've had in disagreement with our tier list. The only disagreement was people wanted Cellium in S tier. And if I'm being honest, if that's the only debate, I'm not that upset because like I was saying to those people that were commenting that, Cellium in S tier, I'm not going to argue against you if you want to put them there.
Yeah, definitely. A or S, usually S, but since we had to put the Toronto players in S since they won the tournament dominantly.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? If that's like the main debate, I don't really see any other debate amongst our tier list. I was like, if the main debate is simply that people think Cellium should be an S instead of A, it's not an outrageous one to me. If I was like, if you put Cellium in S tier, that's fair to me. I'm not going to argue with you. There's a lot of players like that. Some players you firmly believe should be in certain tiers, but some players are like, if you put them one higher or one lower, I'm not going to argue. I would argue if you put Cellium in B. But
yeah, then we're pushing it.
Yeah, if you put him in A or S, I'm not going to complain. There's like a couple players like from the first event, like a guy like Kleenex, kind of has to be in S tier if he's the MVP, whatever, or like Scrappy played really well. For the most part, you kind of know where guys have to get placed. But I was pleasantly surprised that there wasn't as much debate in that comment section. Probably the least we ever had in a tier list video.
Yeah, that means they agree with us, so we'll take it.
Yeah, and you guys crushed on the support, so we appreciate you. This episode today probably going to be a lot shorter, just because we're on week 2 or 3 now of a break somehow after Major 1, so not a lot of news is coming out. Most of the roster shuffling that was happening is pretty much settled out, except for one change that we'll talk about. The maps we'll kind of talk about now that we officially know what maps are coming in and out, and potentially more maps coming in. So we'll talk about that, and then we'll do our predictions. So, like I said, probably going to be a little bit shorter today, especially compared to last week.
Yep.
All right, let's talk about the roster move first before we talk about the maps. iLLeY dropped for Abezy. It's a really weird roster move, not in the fact of the players getting switched, but they took out iLLeY, or people have all said they're taking on iLLeY, but they haven't really announced officially that iLLeY's been benched. They haven't tweeted anywhere that I've seen that iLLeY's out of the lineup. They just kind of silent benched him.
Yeah. Silent benched him, for whatever the reason may be. Obviously not in game because he's definitely carrying the team.
Yeah, I mean, if it is in game, they're faded.
If it is, they're on the papaya.
Yeah, it definitely shouldn't be. Definitely should not be.
Yeah,
deciding game stuff.
But I like the pickup with Abezy because he's a solid player. He's team with Abezy on the Oababobs, I think, team last year. Yeah, that's a hard word to say.
Yeah, Abezy is he's a player that to me has had a what if career. Because when you think about Abezy, it's obviously he's a French player, one of the OG. I mean, obviously you've got Gotaga is the OG French player, but Abezy, a French player, kind of starts to make his big time come up. He was playing a little bit earlier, if I remember correctly, but his big time come up in my mind, when he was really popping off, was BO4. He was a really good player. And around Champs time, he found himself on that East 6 team. I'm trying to remember the full roster right now. It was General, Kismet, Abezy, GodRx, and what was it when you said?
Diabolic.
Was Diabolic on that team still? I'm gonna look it up. Because I know it was GodRx, Kismet, General, Abezy, and then there was one more. And it might have been Diabolic because he was always seemed to be on those teams.
Yeah. For some reason, he was on it at the start of the year. I don't know if he made it to the end of the year. Now that I think about it more.
Oh, was Mayhem maybe on it? Trying to find it here quick, really quickly. Tournament results here. Let's see if I can find their Black Ops 4 champs.
I'm trying to think of those 4 you said, and the 5th. I think it would be Diabolic because he ran the sub.
Call of Duty World Championship 2019. It was mayhem.
Oh,
I
really?
remember mayhem playing pretty well at the tournament. Then he got the Toronto Ultra contract.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, General, Kismet, GodRx, Brezzy, and Mayhem. Yeah, I'm pretty sure General was using the ICR on that team, and then Kismet and was Kismet and Mayhem their subs, and Brezzy and GodRx their Maddox. I can't remember, but I remember Brezzy at the tournament being like disgusting. Like he had a really good champs.
Yeah.
And then like he was like it was kind of like his breakout event. He was incredible, and it was like okay, like Brezzy, this is a good player. He's going to get on a nice team, especially being a French player with the Paris Legion being a team in the first year. You're like, oh, that makes sense. If nobody's going to pick him up, Paris Legion will pick up like one of the top players in the world who happens to be French. And then lo and behold, Brezzy doesn't get a spot on a team now until what, year 5 of the CDL.
Yeah, he's been in the grind.
He's finally getting his chance. So shout out to him for continuing to grind through challengers, because I'm sure that wasn't easy when you really felt like you should have gotten a spot. But his career to me is like a massive what if, because he had played so well at that BO4 champs. He looked like a promising up and coming player. And then he obviously has to sit out of the pro league for 4+ years. So unfortunate for him, but I'm excited to see him get his chance.
Yeah, definitely for sure. And he's also on that General Kismet Havoc Texas Nation team.
Yeah,
in
they have won
Vanguard.
like a million events in Vanguard.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't get like a spot then too.
Yeah, I mean, he's consistently shown since that BO4, especially that champs appearance where they got a 4th place finish on a team that was not expected to finish in the top 4.
Yeah.
That E6 team was like, yeah, they could make it out of groups, but they were definitely not expected to finish top 4. They had their ups and downs that year. And then, like you said, Texas Nation and Vanguard, just a couple of short years later, that team was dominating for how many events in a row early in the game. And like you said, the Awabababs squad from last year was very good, and he teamed with Abezy there, so there's some chemistry. But I mean, I think we both would agree that this roster, if it wasn't for the out of game stuff, which is the likely reason iLLeY is benched, if this roster would be Brezzy in for Arcitys, I'd be feeling like very excited.
Yep.
Move Abezy to the main, keep iLLeY on a flex, and have Brezzy and Hook be your subs. Have Brezzy pull out the third AR on the maps where that's necessary, and I would be feeling like incredible about this team, because I like Brezzy a lot as a player. But with the iLLeY being drop thing, I understand it might be out of their control and it might be an out of game thing that they had to do. But I would love this team if iLLeY was still remaining on it and Arcitys was instead out. But we'll see how they do, because I do like Brezzy a lot as a player.
Yep. This just means, we want to see more out of Alec, and if he doesn't do it, they might make another change.
And Arcitys is really need to step up too, because like I know he has a very good reputation amongst pro players, because obviously like he is a legend. There is no denying. I mean, he has numerous event wins across numerous titles over a long career here. He has 2 world championships. I mean, regardless of whether you want to say his teams are incredible because he won them both with Simp and Abezy, he still won them. Like, you still have to be a pretty good player to win a world championship. Hard thing to do, and especially when you do it twice. And also, he has another finals appearance at champs. He's got 3 finals appearances, unless I'm missing one off the top of my head. And he's had some other finishes where he's been like top 4. Been a very good player for quite some time. 2 rings is not an accident, but he's gonna have to step it up here, because now he's going on a few years since being on those good Atlanta Faze teams, and then last year he was on the worst team in the league, and now he's not on the worst team, but he's currently playing pretty poorly up to the standards we expect out of him.
Yeah, so got to see more of him.
Definitely, in order to keep that spot. Lucky for him. Well, I guess not lucky for him, but he's able to keep his spot this time. We'll see how that moves going forward, and like we'll see if maybe iLLeY potentially gets some help with what's ever going on. If iLLeY makes his return, I would expect, as long as Brezzy's playing well, iLLeY would probably come back for Arcitys if they wanted to insert him back into the lineup. But who knows with all that's going on with him? He may not be back this year. He may be back quickly. We don't really know. Or maybe the team's going to play incredible with Brezzy and they won't need him to come back.
Yeah, maybe. We'll have to see. Hopefully iLLeY gets the help he needs, though.
Yeah, that would be good to see. All right, then we've got some map set news. So Rio is in for SnD. It is replacing Skid Row there. And then it's in for Hardpoint, replacing Terminal. Overall, I think replacing Terminal is good. I actually enjoy playing Terminal a little bit here and there in ranked play, but I would 100% get the decision to take it out. It was definitely probably the worst map, especially with the spawns being so weird. For ranked players, okay, but for CDL, I completely understand why they take it out.
Yeah.
I will say I think they should have taken out Terminal SnD as well instead of Skid Row.
Yeah. I actually kind of like Skid Row SnD.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's like incredible, but I think I think Terminal was the worst SnD map, unless I'm really like missing one off the top of my head. But Terminal SnD is not good.
Yeah, no bueno, especially
Especially with the lack of smokes pros can use.
yeah, like smokes pros use, and thinking to send the plane, and it's kind of hard, get in the plane at that point.
I mean, yeah, breaking into plane is nearly impossible because somebody's either sitting on like the back chair heady and then somebody's watching, so nobody can get into back plane. So you basically have to like chow into a god heady without having a heady of your own in order to get into plane, or you
Yeah,
have to basically just run at a god heady above Eskies somehow to like break into that site, and it's just like a lot of stalemates. It's just not a good viewing or playing experience. Whereas Skid Row was a little bit tough to break into sites, but at least you could like make some plays and make some
yeah,
moves.
hmm yeah.
Um,
I should
I don't
say,
know.
it was impossible, for the pro level to get into playing. Maybe rank plays a little different.
Yeah, it might be a little different because people don't have as clean of setups. But like when you've got like some of these pro main ARs holding a heady on the back seats of the plane, it's pretty much impossible to break into there. Like you don't see teams going A very much at all because you literally just have to run through like the little connector to get into the plane. That's like the only way to break in because
Yep.
like I don't know what pro team, especially if all players are alive, are allowing you to run up middle and just run up the little like orange the ramp into the plane.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
No pro team's letting you do that. And I guess maybe you could somehow find a god lane to sneak through to get to back plane and climb up, but also at the same time there you have to like damn near break a bunch of glass just to get out there. So they're gonna hear it. Like
hmm
it's not a good map on the pro level, and it sounds like a lot of teams wanted it out, but it sounds like maybe some of the bad teams kept it in because they thought it was more of a 50-50 map.
Yeah, even going like A by the Eskies, when he's on the heady like that, it's impossible to kill him off the heady as
Yeah,
well.
it's not a good search map. I can't believe it's left in over Skid Row. I don't actually think Skid Row is very good, but I think it was
hmm
better than Terminal.
Yeah, basically for Termo, like someone has to just mess up or the world star some kid to get into a site.
Yeah. And then on the side of Rio, though, like I've played it very limited. I've only played Rio SnD like once, maybe in ranked. And I've played Rio Hardpoint probably now like 3-4 times. I certainly think it's an improvement in both. Like I like it has a lot of aspects. It is a little bit smaller, it feels, but I actually enjoy that, especially for Hardpoint. It seems like there's a little more engagements. I also like it the fact that it is a map where you could use 2 subs pretty much at all times, potentially 3 on some hills. I even heard in the
hmm
flank, like Hecz believes that at some hills you might even want to use 4 subs because they're so close quarters. Obviously, like the P2 and P4 that are over on that long street, you're definitely going to need some ARs because it's a long cross to hold. Definitely going to want some ARs on those hills for sure. But like that Mixie P5, no P3 in that
I
little
believe.
bottom room below the stairs,
Yeah. Yep.
that room, like SMGs are definitely a big benefit because everything's like a little close range gunfight. Like you're sliding in, like SMGs are a huge benefit there. Um, even in like the P5, you can get like top ridge and kind of roam around up there with the sub. Even in P1, it's a lot of close quarters. Like subs are viable. Like you're going to be seeing probably 2, if not 3, on that map at times. So I like that. Get some maps in here where subs could be utilized.
hmm Yeah, definitely. I put that map a little bit as well, but that map reminds me of Black Ops 4 frequency, in a way.
I get what you're saying too. I definitely can get that vibe a little bit from it as well. Not obviously like completely, but I can see where that thought comes from because it is a little bit of a smaller map, especially in comparison to some of the maps we have now.
Yeah, the two long outside lanes and stuff.
Well, and sometimes like some of the maps too seem to have like some of our maps in the current set in recent years seem to have like so much just useless space
hmm
on the ends, like in the spawns. That's like if you could just shave all this off to like kill off all these spawn points, they would play so much better. But we're just left with these giant areas of the map that are just useless and just cause it to be way too big.
Yeah. Yep. I know me and you both, we prefer the mixy, smaller maps engagements, like 100 engagements and stuff like that.
Yeah. And speaking of, BO4 maps, um, I've heard, I think it's Vista. I can't remember if it's Vista or Departure. Somebody would have to correct me, but I heard one of them. People were saying plays a lot or like reminds them a lot of Seaside from BO4. We were
Ooh.
huge fans of playing Seaside. But these are the
Uh-huh.
2 maps I want to talk about. This is just like, once again, just complete mismanagement by the CDL. Have you heard basically the story on why these maps aren't being played?
Yeah, because it said like they don't have enough time to put them in or something.
Well, their deadline apparently, like I think Clay was the one that said this. their deadline for like making map pool changes was like the night before the season 2 update came out. So the pros couldn't technically test these maps because they weren't out. So they aren't just going to blindly submit a change like we need these 2 maps in without having played them. But there was still like a week or 2 like break between when the CDL started. So they could have easily let them have like 3 days post season 2 update, have like 3 full days of scrims.
Yeah.
On the 2 maps in all 3 game modes, and then had them come to them and tell them like what's good, because it sounds like both these maps at a minimum could be played for both Hardpoint and SnD, and would both be like improvements over any map we have right now. So that would have been an incredible improvement for the game if both these maps would have came in, replaced at least Hardpoint and SnD, if not Control, and we would have been able to take out like 2 of the bad maps. Like for sure, Terminal SnD could have came out.
Yeah.
And like these maps that are supposedly a lot better could have been implemented, but no, apparently we had to have it in before the maps came out, which makes 0 sense. You know, especially knowing the COD pros, they're never going to blindly put a map in.
Yeah. That just makes 0 sense, man.
It's just stupid. It makes, like you said, 0 sense. I don't know why it's not an adjustment that they can make where they get like 2 or 3 days to scrim them and then put them in. Like
Yeah.
apparently, I haven't been able to play any of them, or like because I don't have like Steam scrims, obviously. But apparently, they both play very well and like would easily make it into the map set for at least a game mode.
Yeah, dang. Like, can they make an exception? Maybe.
You would hope, but it's the CDL, so that requires work, and they won't make that exception.
Yeah. The less work, the better. I forgot.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all we had for news. Just want to talk about those maps and that Brezzy roster change that came in. Let's jump into predictions. That's all we've got for the pod today. So these will probably take another 10, 15, 20 minutes, and we'll get you guys out of here in probably like 30, 40 minutes. Which, speaking of these predictions, Brock, I know we mentioned this quick before we just like hit record on the pod, but I was like mind blown. Like when I was doing the list of matches for the weekend, so I could like have them all in order and we can make our predictions. I was like really confused. I'm like, am I missing something here? Why is there 2 matches on Friday? And then usually there's like 4 on Saturday and 3 on Friday. And then usually back to 3 on Sunday. And I was like, am I missing something? Like, why is it 2 and 3? Like, why is there only 3 matches Saturday? Why is there 2 Friday? I was super confused. Apparently it's because we have 5 weeks instead of 4 in this split. So we used to have 3 weeks. Now we have 4 this year. And now this week, or this split, we have 5. And they're just like putting less and less matches per day. I guess I'm really confused why we need 5 weeks of qualifiers. Like we just want to see another tournament. Damn.
5 weeks, a whole month, week basically.
Yeah, just of qualifiers. And there's only 2 matches on Friday. I'm very confused and why we're adding the extra week and just lowering things down so much after this extended break. But yeah, I mean, so I wasn't wrong, but for the longest time, I thought I was like looking at the wrong thing or missing something, or they had some error, because I was like, why is there only 2 matches Friday?
Yeah, I can assure you, if we have like 4 matches a day, 5 matches a day, the fans will not complain.
No,
forget the other week.
Yeah, no, people will not complain.
Yeah.
Let's jump into predictions though. We were kind of looking at the matches for this weekend and thinking, it's looking like in almost every match, maybe not like 1 or 2 of them, there is like a pretty, I would consider, heavy favorite, or like a pretty clear favorite. Like we always get weeks where like sometimes there's like a toss up matchup, but I would say like when I just really quickly eyeball each match, there's probably all but 1 match where there is like a definite, this team is the favorite. Not saying they're gonna like guarantee to win, but there's maybe all but 1 match where there's definitely like a clear favorite that would be like the betting odds favorite. One of them I think would be more of like a push. Other than that, I think 7 of the 8 matches this weekend are like a clear betting odds favorite.
Yeah. For the most part, yeah.
And if you look at the matches, anybody that's listening or not, if you look at the matches that are up on the screen, or if you're looking at the matches yourself, you know exactly what match we're talking about. That's the LAG versus Las Vegas Legion match on Sunday. That's probably the one toss-up match that would be like close odds. Every other one has a pretty clear favorite. I wonder if Brock and I will pick any upsets, but as we go through, we'll kind of mention who the clear favorite is, and we'll talk about it. But I'm excited to predict these. So obviously, I ended up winning our major one predictions, as we talked about before. It was pretty much due to a massive week 3 for me. where I did really well in the week 3 predictions. I ended up beating you 40-35 in our score. For those of you that are wondering how we do our score, we pick our match, we pick the series count, and we put either 1 or 2 points on it. If we put 2 points on and it's correct, we get the 2 plus 2, or we lose 2, so it's kind of like a wager. And then if we get the correct map count right, it's a bonus point. And there's 1 match per week we can put 4 points on. Once again, for this first week, we can put 4 points in the same match just because there's no... Actually, no, you have the advantage. Never mind. Since I won Major 1, you have the advantage. You get the first match to pick.
Okay.
Putting 4 points on. So, see if Brock can tie up the series, or if I'm going to go up 2-0 with a chance to put him away right away in a 3-0 sweep.
Ooh.
All right. Ready to jump into these matches? We got a... as much as I say there's like clear favorites, there are a lot of matches this weekend that intrigue me like big time. And this first one is definitely one of them. It's Miami versus Toronto. We obviously know Toronto is the clear favorite. They are easily the best team in the game right now. They're the favorite against anybody they play. But Miami's intriguing because they're significantly like clear weak link in Journey, who is really struggling over the past few matches. Is now out, and Eric Boom, who we've heard a lot about and we've heard is very talented, is in, and this team has already looked very good at times. So Miami, a lot of upset potential here, but obviously Toronto, our current best team in the game.
All right. I'll go first. I'm gonna go out. I'm putting a 4 point on this one.
Okay.
And I'm gonna give Toronto. They don't come out the best. They lose map 1, the hard point. They wake up a little bit. 1-3 straight off. 3-1. My 4 points on it as well.
Okay, that's interesting. You get your 4 points out of the way. That means I can brainstorm because there's another Toronto match and there's an Atlanta Faze match, also an OpTic match. Usually, obviously, like to put your 4 points on like the big time
Teams, yeah.
like heavy hitters when they're playing a lower team. Which obviously for you, Miami's not like a slouch team, but it is Toronto. You got a lot of faith in Toronto. I will say, I'm not terribly upset you put your 4 points on that because I don't know if I would have used it on this because sometimes teams come out and have like a little bit of a slump. Remember, was that last year when like every team that would win an event would come out and go to losers the next one?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
What were you gonna say?
I say because last year, New York Subliners won the Major 1. Then the next tournament they got top 12.
Yeah, it's like that. I think it was like it was last year. Where it was like every time you'd win an event, they would like suck in qualifiers in the next stage. It was like really weird. I'm gonna agree with you on this one. I think exactly the same. I think Miami's gonna take a map. I'm not exactly sure where, but I think Eric Boom will make them improve a little bit. But I think Toronto's still too much. I'm a little scared it could be a trap match just because, like we said, teams sometimes struggle.
Yeah.
Coming out of a major win, so I'm a little scared. Maybe Miami could catch them off guard and take them out. But I'm gonna agree with the Toronto 3-1.
Yeah.
Put 2 points on it.
I like it. I'm just kind of worried that Toronto comes overlooks Miami and then Miami 3-0s them.
The only reason I would say they might not overlook them is because like they're playing Minnesota later in the week. It's if they were playing like an OpTic or a Faze, a match that they might like be really extra motivated to win. I would say probably not. I would say probably they might overlook it if they're playing like one of those top teams later in the week. But since they're playing Minnesota, who did have a good showing at the major, but Toronto doesn't look at them like a OpTic, like a match they're really looking forward to as much. So I don't think they'll overlook them, but you never know. We've seen weirder things happen. And Miami's not a bad team.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're also going to be motivated to come out after an 0-6 performance at the major.
Yeah, they're going to show them how they are, what they're about.
Yeah. I'll go first for this next match. I actually consider putting my 4 on this one because I feel pretty confident in it. I'm going to go with an NYSL 3-0. And this is NYSL versus Carolina Royal Ravens. I'm going with an NYSL 3-0. I'm only going to put the 2 points on it. Considered 4, but I think this series is setting up perfectly for NYSL to come out and have a dominant performance. I think Carolina, while they showed flashes and probably should have went at least a round further, they blew their last series they ended up getting eliminated on. Well, they've looked very good on that LAN performance. Fellow has been really bad online. TJ wasn't all that great online either. This team overall has not been that good online. And I think New York has a lot to prove, obviously. I don't believe that they're a last place finishing team.
Yeah.
I think they have a lot to prove. I think they're going to come out with some fire and win 3-0.
I like it. I'm going to go similar to you for the most part. I think NYSL wins all the respawns.
Okay.
And Carolina Royal Ravens win one search. So 3-1 NYSL.
Putting 2 points on it.
Yes.
All right, and for some reason that concludes our matches for Friday. It feels weird that we're only picking 2 matches.
And
for
we're done with
Friday,
Friday.
but yeah, we're on to Saturday where we're also short a match from normal. We have 3. Still 3 series. Obviously, the first day Toronto and NYSL would definitely be our betting favorites. Today, we've got 3 matches: Boston, Carolina, where Boston would, I would assume, be our betting favorite. Maybe not with the fact that they made a roster change and Carolina looked technically better on the weekend. Obviously, Faze the favorite over Miami, and then NYSL, especially with the roster change, I would assume the favorite over Seattle. So another day where we probably have 3 pretty clear betting odds favorites, but some potential upsets in the cards. Today, you think there's going to be an upset in that first match on the Saturday, Boston versus Carolina Royal Ravens?
This is tough for Carolina to play the last match and first match next day.
Yeah, they always do that cheese the Friday into Saturday.
I think Boston gets a better with the addition of ASIM, and but I do think it'll be a great match overall. I do think that, Boston might struggle a bit since they are bringing in a new player in ASIM. So I'm gonna go a game 5 Boston 3-2, and I put 1 point on it.
Okay. I also agree that it could be a better series. I don't think Carolina's going to get 2 maps, though. I really like ASIM as a pickup as well. Obviously, I love Capsidal. Sad that he got dropped. I think he's a really good player. I think Carolina's going to take a map here. I think it's going to be one of the first 2 respawns, either the hard point or the control. But I think Boston's going to close them out 3-1 in that map for hard point. I'm putting 2 points on it, and I'm ready for the classic that it seems like half the league has posted. You already know we're getting the "you drop this" ASIM meme.
Yep.
Technically, he played for London Royal Ravens, played for this Royal Ravens Oregon. Everybody that always picks up ASIM and then he goes and beats his former org loves to post the "you drop this" meme of him. And ASIM, I could be completely lying here. His record against his former team in the first series he plays them might actually not be that good, but it seems like every time in the CDL era when he gets dropped and gets to play his former team, it seems like he always beats them.
Yeah. I think that is
That's the meme
a
comes from.
theme too.
Yeah, typically when you're the guy that gets dropped, maybe it doesn't carry over as much year to year. Usually it's within the same year. If you get dropped from a team then picked up, you usually beat them.
Yeah.
But
Yes, we'll have to wait and
I feel
see.
pretty good about them winning. I also think Boston is a better team. I think ASIM's going to improve them a lot.
Yep. Fully agree with that.
All right, then we've got Atlanta versus Miami. Oh man, I'm thinking about putting my 4 points on this. I'm not going to. I actually have a weird feeling. I know I picked Miami to kind of lose 3-1 to Toronto up there. I have a weird feeling Miami's going to force a game 5 in this one. I'm putting 2 points on it again. I'm going 2 points on everything this week, apparently. Picking Atlanta 3-2. I have this weird feeling Miami's going to come out a little bit hot and take the map 1, be really motivated. I think Faze will bounce back, take the search. Then I think Miami is going to sneak a control, which is tough to do off Faze in general. Simp teams have always been very good at control. And then I think Atlanta's going to win 2 straight to close it out 3-2, putting 2 points on it.
Ooh, I like it. Man, this is a tough week for Miami when they're bringing in a new player. Toronto and Atlanta.
Coming off an 0-6, you need a bounce back. You're bringing in a new player, and you get to face the 2 best teams in the league. Fun start.
Yeah, Eric Boone might have a tough time with these sub players.
Yeah, we should make a mental note to not judge Eric Boom too hard if he has a tough week. But if he has a good week, we should probably be gassing him up.
Yeah, definitely. Man, I'm gonna give him the same score as I did against Toronto. But this time I think they're gonna win the control.
Okay. So you're going Atlanta 3-1.
3-1, 2 points.
Yeah, brutal week. If Miami comes out of this week 1-1, I'd consider that a ringing endorsement of the new roster change and a very good week.
Yeah, definitely.
Make fun of this. Literally, if you're Miami, it sounds weird. Obviously, Miami, in their head, their camp, their goal is 2-0 this week. Obviously, you can't go into a week praying that you're able to win one of your 2 matches. You go in expecting and trying to win both, no doubt. But if you're Miami and at the end of this weekend, you come out and your record for the stage is 1-1, you're feeling pretty good. You're like, okay, we survived playing the 2 best teams in the league. We're 1-1. Okay, we're feeling all right.
Yeah, most definitely.
All right, our final match of the day. like we said, if this roster change was done, what should technically be done based on in-game stuff, I'd feel really excited about this matchup. I am still very excited to see Abezy play. So I'm excited for this NYSL versus Seattle matchup. It's the French matchup. Abezy versus Hydra.
That's
Excited
right.
to watch that. NYSL Seattle. I once again think NYSL is going to come out and look really good this week. I think they're going to look very good just bouncing back. However, I think even though I don't have as much faith in this roster since iLLeY's not on anymore, I think Seattle could look really rough, and I think this could be a super fast 3-0. Something tells me I think Brezy's going to come out. He's misplaying the CDL. I think he's going to have a really good series. I do think NYSL is still going to take it 3-2. I'm only going to put 1 point on this one because I think Abezy is going to have a really nice debut series. However, I just think New York is going to be out with a vengeance this week, trying to make up for their major one loss. And I think Seattle, obviously, in-game wise, made an incorrect roster move. I think it's going to cost them, and they're going to lose 3-2 here.
Yep. I like it. Oh man, I'm torn on this one. I feel like I want to go opposite.
You think? I mean, we said before we predicted we might pick all the same teams this week. It might just come down to the confidence points you put on it and map counts. That separates it because it's pretty chalk week this week. But if you went with it, you would look good if you pick it right, because a lot of people really think the Seattle team is going to take a big step back. Like, a lot of people are predicting this roster change to be like catastrophic for them, keeping our season dropping iLLeY, who's been their best player. So if you pick Seattle, I'm sure you would definitely be against the majority of the community. So you're going to look like a genius if it's right.
I'm going for it. I'm putting all my chips on the table, in the middle of the table, and bet on iLLeY this weekend.
Oh yeah,
for this game.
The bold.
We're going 3-2. Close games all around. But I do think Abezy, has what I think he's gonna drop 8 or 9 in the final search and win it.
Okay.
Round 10.
Putting 1 or 2 on that.
I'll put 2 points.
Okay.
Going bold.
Bold for Seattle. I like it. That'll be a swing because we might not pick any other matches different. All right, then we got LAG versus Las Vegas Legion. LAG obviously coming in with the same roster. A lot of people, including probably us, thought that they would be one of the teams. Preseason, we thought they'd be one of the teams that would be changing after Major 1 if their org allowed them to change. But they put in a pretty good performance, finishing top 6, and they had a very legit chance to beat Minnesota and go to top 4 at Major 1. So they're obviously sticking with it. Vegas making a very weird roster change. They pick up a player in Geo who looks very good. Don't get me wrong. Geo looks like a very good player. Definitely deserves a shot. But instead of having him come in for Purge, which everybody expected, he's subbing in for SnD. And Purge is moving to an SMG, it sounds like. So they took statistically the worst player in the league and said, play an even harder role.
Yep. He's going to struggle.
Doesn't make a lot of sense. I really like the Geo pickup, though. I think this kid's got a lot of talent. I like it as a pickup.
I don't really know too much about him, but I've heard only pretty good things overall.
It's a very confusing move because I'm gonna assume either middle of the qualifiers in this stage or post Major 2, they're gonna be looking for an SMG. And they had a pretty good one on their team in SnD. Like, this roster to me feels like if it was attached on the main, Geo on the flex, with SnD as like your third AR / obviously second SMG in a normal game, and then Nero, like, I would feel really good about this roster. But the fact that we're moving Purge to a sub and picking up Geo, I don't feel as good. Obviously, there had to be a lot of internal issues with SnD or something, but the move just makes no sense.
Yeah, it might hinder Nero's play too.
Yeah, without having a player like SnD that you can trust to kind of go in with you, get your trade, pick up kills. Purge might struggle with that. If he struggled with an AR, I can't imagine it's going to get much better with a sub.
Yeah. With that being said, I am picking LAG 3-1. They take the search because Dylan attached price is, pretty icy. Yeah, I'll put 2 points on it.
As much as I just bash Vegas simply because I want to go for the toss-up, this is like the one real toss-up match we have. I'm picking Vegas 3-2. They haven't been that good at closing out searches, but they're going to do it this time. They're not going to get reverse stuff like they always do. They're going to close it out 3-2. I'm putting 2 points on it to counter you. I don't feel good about it, but I also at the same time think LAG could have had a little bit of a fluky Major 1. I think they could have been like a team that maybe understood the game quick, and that's why they were able to beat some teams. We see a lot of teams like that every year. where we don't think they're going to be very good. Then all of a sudden, the first tournament of the year, they actually end up looking pretty good because they're maybe a little bit of ahead. And then the talent kind of catches up to them because we saw that a lot with LAG. When they were playing perfect, clean, they looked really good. They could win maps, but like you saw at points in the weekend where like the talent diff just kind of hit them.
Yeah.
They weren't able to keep up. I'm mostly picking Vegas because I think this series is a true toss up and I want to go opposite of you.
Yeah,
That's a large reason why I'm picking them, but
Mhm.
I I feel that they could win this. I'm not going to be shocked by either result in this series as much as I just bashed Vegas for their move.
Yep.
I also think Gio's going to have a really good debut. I think the kid's really good and he's not playing the best team like slaying and pure like mechanical skill talent wise. So I think Gio's going to put up some pretty good numbers this series.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll see on Sunday. Well, 3 matches only.
Yeah, 3 matches here on Sunday. I think that's normal. I think don't we normally go 3-4-3, I think.
Yeah.
So this is the only day that like stays technically normal. Second match is the Battle of the North though. Toronto versus
Uh-huh.
Minnesota. Honestly, turns out to be a pretty good match because Minnesota looked pretty good
Mhm.
on Major 1, especially above where people thought they would. I'm curious to think what your thoughts are on Minnesota though, because like for me, I'm kind of feeling like they might come out a little cold this split. They only get to play 1 match and it's against Toronto, so it's obviously very tough for the week 1. I'm
Yeah.
thinking they could come out a little cold. I'm gonna quick while you're making your prediction, go pull up their schedule
Yeah.
for this split. I'm thinking they might come out a little cold, but at the same time also, like, they looked really good in their final 3 online matches
And
of
land.
Major 1, so, like, they could come out fine.
Yeah. Well, let's hopefully they don't come out like last major, because otherwise they're gonna lose.
Their schedule's brutal.
Yeah. But, I think they'll come out a little shaky at first, and it's been their only match of the weekend. It's gonna be tough sometimes.
Yeah, and they're playing the best team.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just hoping for a big Wake returns to his somewhat normal form,
Yeah.
and if he does that, it could be a pretty good match here. But in the end, I'm taking Toronto. I'll go 3-1. I'll put 2 points on it. Just team diff, talent diff for the most
Yeah.
part.
I'm going Toronto 3-0 on this one, putting 2 points on it, agreeing with your 2 points, but I'm gonna say 3-0. Uh, I just feel like Minnesota might come out a little bit shakier than they've won so many matches in a row. Kind of, obviously they lost a couple on LAN to
Hmm.
get eliminated, but they won so many matches in a row online, and they won to start the LAN, and then they looked overall pretty good in Major 1, finishing 4th. Toronto, I'm still scared of the potential hangover from winning an event. Sometimes they don't play as well right away in the next split, but I'm going to trust that this team's going to keep their foot on the gas. However, when I looked at Minnesota's schedule, that big wake or whoever's struggling roster change could come quicker than you think because they got Toronto this week. Then next Friday, they play OpTic. And then on that same Sunday, they play Boston, who could be looking really good. Like they're a decent team.
Hmm.
And then the next weekend after that, on Friday, they play Faze. And then they
Ooh.
get LAT, so a nice match there. And then they round out uh, the matches there with Surge and Heretics.
Okay, it could be definitely a tough stage.
God, then I just accidentally saw their first 2 matches the next stage, and they get New York and FaZe.
Jeez, they're in
So
one. They're in for one.
yeah, they have a tough start to their schedule. I mean, they're staring down the barrel of a potential 0-2 right away playing OpTic and FaZe.
Hmm.
So Minnesota, if they could somehow pull off a win in this battle of the North, it'd be huge for them. But I just don't think they're gonna be able to get it done. Toronto is just too good right now.
Yeah, too good at the moment.
I guess this is anticlimactic, but it means I have to use. I was thinking about using my 4 on that match for Toronto, but I think I'm gonna end up saving it here. I'm picking OpTic to beat LAT in our final match 3-1, and I am putting my 4 points on it. We've got a lot of people down in our comment section that were arguing about OpTic. I still feel like the first weekend for OpTic was overall positive. Are there concerns? 100%. Absolutely, there are concerns. There are basically concerns for every team that isn't named Toronto Ultra right now in some way.
Yep.
Obviously, if you're talking FaZe, like just talking our top teams, if you're talking FaZe, it's the fact that once again, they can't close out a tournament. They are like basically a walking ticket to finals at every tournament they play. They pretty much find themselves there every time, but they still have a below 500 record with the core 3. They
Hmm.
can't close out tournaments. That's the clear and obvious concern for FaZe. Um, for OpTic, the clear and obvious concern is their search and destroy. Their hardpoint overall looks very good. They're one of the best hardpoint teams. Their control looks pretty good for the most part, and looks like they have a lot to build off there. Their search and destroy, they really struggle. However, they have a lot of round 11 losses, which you can't just brush them off and be like, they're round 11, whatever. That's obviously a concern if you're consistently losing those.
Mm-hmm.
But once again, we have people saying that individually, like Kenny teams struggle in search a lot, but like these are players like Pred always puts up numbers in search, and I trust that he could do it. Shotzzy tends to make a lot of plays in search. Hasn't been happening for him too much this year, but he tends to make a lot of plays typically as the year goes on. I still trust in a player like Dashy and a player like Kenny to be good search players. Like there are the tools here. This team could figure it out. They have a good coaching staff, good analysts. Like I think this team could definitely figure things out. And get on board and search. That's obviously the main concern with them. Then, I mean, we're not going to go on the list and say concerns with every team, but New York, it's obvious. I mean, you get double first rounder, there's concern there.
Yeah.
But like every team has their concerns. We have people that are ready to just like say this is going to be a terrible year for OpTic because they struggled in search for one event. Now, let's say the trend continues this entire split online and into land. They just still are struggling mightily in search and can't win any. Sure, the level of concern continues to grow, but when their respawn looks this good, I'm never going to be fully like, oh my God, OpTic's chalked for the year. Like we have people making it sound like they're not going to be able to win an event this year.
Yeah.
Do I think they're for sure going to win an event? Absolutely not. I mean, it's tough to win events, but I definitely think that they're, to me, still like far and away clearly the third best team in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like most of the community agrees with that. I mean, our boy PD seemed to be putting New York ahead of them, which could New York be better than by the end of the split? Sure, I would not be surprised, but absolutely, OpTic is clearly ahead of New York right now. They're the third best team in the game, and it's funny because it's a clear gap. Toronto clear 1, Faze is a clear 2, and OpTic's a clear 3, and then after that, it gets all muddled.
Yeah. I find it funny how, the fans, if OpTic does bad, they place top 3, which is, pretty good for where they were at. If they don't win it, they like, oh, this team needs to change, blah, yada, 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 and all that stuff.
And also, I mean, I also feel like if any other team was in the position that OpTic is, where they won plenty of matches online, they get all the way to third, and they take Faze to a game 5 and lose, who's a very good team. Like, if any other team made it there basically strictly on the back of respawn, you'd probably look at that team and be like, well, that's a really good building block. Like, they're incredible at respawn. Just a little improvement in search to just slightly put it like an uptick to your win rate, and you'll be rolling through teams. Like, I think a lot of people would be very positive, and they would be saying very positive things. Like, let's say you took OpTic's weekend and their hardpoint record and their control record and stuff, and you put the tag of Boston on them. They were the Boston Breach, and you showed that record. They finished third, and they were really good in respawn, just struggled in search. I think a lot of people would be like, "Oh my God, Boston! Like this team's great at respawn. They finished third. Just they got to fix their SnD. Like that, they could do that. A lot of people would be positive about them, but because it's OpTic, we seem to have this panic narrative, and I get it. The comparison is weird because OpTic's roster is obviously more talented than Boston, and OpTic has one of the most talented rosters in the league. So like people think they got to win right away, but are we really going to sit here and pretend like the rosters of Toronto and Faze that finish in front of them aren't also as talented, if not more talented?
Yeah.
Like pure talent wise, I think Faze is probably still the most talented team in the league. Toronto's teamwork's just a lot better right now, and their talent is also very, very high. Not saying Toronto's talent's not up there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like you're finishing below a Toronto team that their talent level is incredible and their teamwork is the best in the game right now, and Faze, whose trio is like the most successful average placing trio to ever form in Call of Duty.
Yep.
Okay, let's pump the brakes. If OpTic struggles this major, sure, let's talk about it. It could be a bad sign, but I'm just not ready to hit the panic button on a team that finished third like some of these people are.
Yeah, I'm not either at all. In that case, I'm picking Texas, same as you, 3-1, and I'll put 2 points on it.
Oh, I'm very intrigued for this match because also it we'll see what Thieves does. I'm not in love with the roster change from Thieves. We talked about it. I love Afro as a player, but I do think he should have been the SMG getting replaced. I think Cammy, his time was up, and I do like the Nasty pickup, but I'm not like fully convinced that Nasty and Kremp being inserted into this roster is going to like instantly make them good enough to beat OpTic. I do think we'll see an improvement. I just don't think it's going to be enough to take a top team like OpTic. I will be interested to see how Thieves plays against more like middle of the pack teams, because let's look at their schedule quick. They're playing obviously OpTic, and then they get Miami, Minnesota, Atlanta, Vegas, LAG, and Ultra. So obviously they play like Ultra, Faze, and OpTic, but they have LAG, Vegas, Miami in there. Like some pretty winnable matches in Rocker. So some pretty winnable matches this stage. I'll be really interested in, especially in those 4 matches, to see how LAT can shake up. I mean, they have 4 middle of the pack teams they play, or even more bottom teams they play. If they're able to win 3 of those 4, 3 wins at this point gets you into winners.
Yeah.
So I'll be interested to see how LAT can do against those, because I do think the team can improve. But obviously, if they can pull off an upset against one of our top 3 teams that they play, that would be huge for them.
Yeah, that'd be a good building block for that team.
And LAT's in the exact opposite boat. However, obviously the concerns for LAT are much higher than OpTic, because A, they weren't winning any matches, so your concerns going to be higher. B, their talent's not nearly as high as OpTic. And C, it's harder to improve hardpoint in general than it is to improve SnD. Like a lot of times we will see teams that are not very good at hardpoint. It tends to be a struggle for the entire season. Doesn't seem like you can improve it like a ton. Teams that struggle in SnD, do they always improve? Absolutely not. Sometimes they just suck, but I feel like it is an easier game mode to improve on.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot less about like pacing and everything, and just more about getting good strategies and like learning how to play off each other. Where hardpoint, if you just have pacing off with your team and you don't make the right roster change, the pacing's going to continue to be off, and you just might not have the talent.
Yeah.
But LAT, it's like, good lord, win a hard point, and they wouldn't even be that bad. Their record in like control and SnD is like close to 500. Like if they were even like an okay hardpoint team, they would be like a middle of the pack team maybe, but they just can't win a damn hardpoint.
Yeah, they're struggling big time in that mode.
Yeah, that's obviously all they're looking at in this roster change. They're like, we just need to be able to win a hardpoint, please.
Yep, I agree with that.
All right, you got anything else before we end up wrapping this one up here?
No, just excited to get back to the Call of Duty, watching, see how the teams do, and play some more ranked play, and that's about it for me.
I would fully agree with that. I'm excited to watch some more matches, play a little ranked. I'm excited for those new maps to potentially come in next season.
Yeah.
All right. That's going to do it for this one, though. If you guys enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. If you're on the audio platforms, drop a follow, drop a 5-star review. Like I said, we really appreciate your guys' support last week. The tier list and like major predictions typically tend to do the best for us, but you guys crushed it. Almost like 2,000 views just on YouTube alone for that tier list, and tons of likes, tons of interaction. We really appreciate the support. Those videos are really fun to do, so it's nice to see that you guys also enjoy them. Hopefully you guys enjoy this one as well. Excited to have matches back, and excited to be back here next week talking to you guys about the results from those matches and making predictions again. So we appreciate all the support as always. We really, really, really do. It means a lot. And thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.